Hey guys, welcome back to another video, but this time I'm not in my normal bedroom because I moved for a couple months away from Portugal, but still I wanted to make a very special video, a theme I really love, and this is the top 5 religious themed horror movies, but they need to have biblical premises and biblical themes on them. So I made my list. I have some cursed, very cursed religious films in here, so be ready to hear them. And with all being said, let's begin. When people become too obsessed with a certain ideology, that same obsession may be what leads them to commit immoral acts, even if in their minds this is what it's right and they're just doing the right thing. Well, this obsession with religion and God himself is portrayed perfectly in the film Red State, where we are presented with a group of religious people who are a danger to others who do not believe in the same beliefs as them. In this film, we first are presented with a group of teenage boys who are on the hunt to hook up with some random girl they met online. But it turns out that this random girl belongs to the crazy church group and leads these teenage boys to the church where they perform their ceremonies to teach these guys that sex before marriage is wrong. This then unfolds to be not just an intervention, but a massacre on these teenage boys, who in this crazy church people group have sinned and should be punished for it. We then are introduced to the leader of this church, who preaches basically about what the people want to hear, and tries to make sense of the punishment of these teenage virgin boys. We are then shown horrendous visuals mixed with disturbing horrors from the people of the church that makes us understand the delusion that they have, and that they should be stopped by someone who turns out to be a special police force who opens fire on these individuals and ends the massacre once and for all. A disturbing depiction of obsession and blindness of the rights and wrongs of actions by being controlled by someone who knows exactly what to say. And this is the true horror of real-life cult scenarios. The realism that comes with the making of a found footage is something that cannot be replicated for its authentic and genuine look. Now imagine that realism with a religious horror theme. And with the last Exorcism, we don't really need to imagine because we can experience its horror on the big screen. This film takes a very original premise that bases itself on exposing the fakeness and untruth of exorcisms that are done for monetary reasons only and not to help the victims understand that their suffering comes from a very deep and wooden mental illness and not from the god or the devil. With this, we are introduced to a priest who owns a business of healing and exorcisms, but they are all fake, but they are made to look real so he can profit of other people's sufferings. Since this protagonist has a troubled relationship with God for the unjust death of his daughter, so he lost his faith on any biblical being. During his journey, he ends up encountering a case of a possessed girl who he has to make his so-called exorcism. But there's something peculiar about this case, and because of it he suffers a life crisis and he reflects on his own beliefs, as his methods do not work with this possessed girl, who may have more than just a mental illness. She may actually have the devil inside her. This journey from an unbeliever to a skeptical Christian is done amazingly, and the growth of this protagonist to finding his purpose and understanding that the actions of his business are immoral are done stunningly, with authentic and genuinely scary footage that will remain in our minds for a long time. When we think about the law and the court system, a lot of us find it boring and not interesting at all. But what if we had a film about a court case, about an exorcism gone wrong? More precisely, the negligent death of a girl named Emily Rose, who was rumored to be possessed. In the Exorcism of Emily Rose, we are presented with two timelines. The present, where we have the case of our dear Emily happening in the court of law, with the priest who killed her during the exorcism, who is being accused of homicide by negligence. And the past, where we have the actual truth of what happened to Emily, and if she really needed a deep exorcism or if she needed guidance and help to escape her very deep mental illness. This uncertainty of whether Emily was really possessed is what is being presented and disputed in the court, since the priest is being defended of his actions made in good faith to get rid of whatever entity was within Emily, since he knew it was something uncanny and evil. But in the process of doing so, he got Emily killed, and so the attacker in the court accuses him of homicide and negligence, since all Emily needed was really guidance and treatment. The way these two timelines are presented to us shows us that there are always two sides to every story, and the difficulty of finding the real truth, and also getting justice to such a tragic case of an innocent girl who just wanted to be something more and leave her troubled family and life behind. More and more films are bringing light to something very important and super relevant, which is mental illness, and how it can be masked by literally anything, and religion is no exception of this. Maud is the main character in the film Saint Maud, where she is conflicted with past traumas due to her nursing job, and because of it she becomes too obsessed with Christianity and God Almighty, where it even gets to a point where she thinks that God controls her and helps her achieve certain orgasmic emotions, and without him, she is nothing. This obsession of her overruns her capability of her acting on her own, and even affects the way she behaves, mainly towards her patients, as she is now the caretaker of a former celebrity who has only a few months left to live. And because of her uncontrollably religious behavior, she condemns immoral acts, even if in her head it's necessary for the salvation of this former celebrity. All of this makes her stop understand what reality is anymore, as her imagination is so wild and uncontrolled that she thinks her imagination is reality. So the lines between fantasy and reality starts to blur, and that's what drives her mental illness and worsens it. The ending of this film shows us what obsession can do to a person and what it can do to our minds, as her mental illness was not treated and she masked it with religion, as she thought she was on a godly mission to become a saint, and because of it, we are presented with the most disturbing imagery I ever saw in a religious themed movie. I mean, there really isn't any competition with this one. This has always been the film that people name when they are asked what their most scariest experience was while viewing a film. The Exorcist is top tier horror. What it accomplished back in the day when it was released was and still is impossible to replicate. The horror that came with its plot, premise, atmosphere, soundtrack, and the biggest one, visuals, is what makes this film not only the best religious horror film, but also the best horror film in general. The plot of this film for many is only about the exorcism of a 12-year-old girl who was possessed by the demon Pazuzu, but truly it's much more than that. It is about the journey of redemption of the priest who performs the exorcism on the little girl, as he lost his faith long ago and now he's trying to retrieve it once again. With this tragic and very unfortunate occurrence of possession onto the little girl, the priest is able to gain his faith and purpose once more and get the meaning to his life that he truthfully desires, where he understands that in order of acquiring his salvation and forgiveness, he has to make the ultimate sacrifice to defeat the evil itself, Pazuzu. The beauty of this film is shown with horrifying visuals that depicts the pragmatism of religion and exorcism, with his many methods of taking the demon out of this young girl and healing her to her former state. The imagery we witness is hard to see, as we sympathize with this possessed young girl, but we are also scared of her and for her. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It was truly amazing to make another video and another list. I really missed writing and I thought about religious themed movies, so here we are. I want to give two quick shoutouts to two films that I didn't cover on this list. One of them I already talked on another video, which is about a cult from Jonestown, and the other film is called Alice Sweet Alice. So just wanted to point out these two films that are very good, and wish you guys a good day and wish you all the best. Goodbye.